Knicks guard Mikal Bridges asks Tom Thibodeau to back off a bit on the starters' minutes because the bench deserves more minutes themselves. Our New York Post Knicks beat writer Steph Bondy broke the story. He's on now, live from Portland. Steph, let's get straight into this thing. Mikal Bridges, he's an Iron Man out there, but does he have a point? Does Tibbs need to ease up on the minutes and give the bench a little bit more playing time?
Well, I mean, that's a very complicated question because if you look at the bench that was assembled, I don't think it is a top tier bench. Just if you look at um, talent standpoint, and listen, that was a big reason why they had to go with the bench that they did is because they splurged so much on the starting lineup. They spent so much of their cap and their assets to build this starting lineup that reducing the experience and the talent on the bench was going to be a byproduct of that, and it was. But I did find it very interesting and a little bit surprising that Mikal Bridges acknowledged that he talked to the coach and he said, "Listen, you got to play the bench more. You should be playing the bench more. It's hard to play 48 minutes in a game. It's hard on the body, and guys like Landry Shamet, they're playing well. You should leave them out there." I thought that was a very interesting acknowledgement from Mikal Bridges, who, by the way, is the NBA's Iron Man. Owns the consecutive games played streak. Top, number one in the NBA right now. Leads the NBA in minutes. So, coming from him, I thought it was certainly noteworthy.
Three of the five starters lead the NBA in minutes. Tom Thibodeau, he's known for this. Starters play a lot of minutes. How do you think he's going to respond?
That's a good question too. We talked to him later today before the Blazers game. I'm going to bring up, what Mikal Bridges said and what his response has been. But historically, Tom just brushes this stuff aside and says he pays it no mind. Listen, this has been a criticism surrounding him for a very long time. And just this season, for instance, two of his former players, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, have said the exact same thing that Mikal Bridges said, in harsher words, actually. But they said that the players need to go up to Tom Thibodeau and express their viewpoint that they shouldn't be playing that much. And apparently that's what Mikal Bridges did. I don't know if any other starters did that. Now, keep in mind, Josh Hart has said he appreciates playing the minutes. He's a basketball player. He wants to be out there. So you have kind of these two competing viewpoints, at least publicly, regarding the minutes situation. I do want to put this out there because I think it's important. This was not something that Mikal Bridges was talking about angrily. It was not something that he wanted to get off his chest. It was something that came up based on a question that I asked, which was Tom Thibodeau has this reputation. Is it fair? And that was his response.
All right, so now it's time for Word is Bondy. I've asked you this before in terms of if you believe that guys were playing too many minutes. You didn't think so. Now that Mikal Bridges came out and told you that he had that conversation with Tibbs, do you now change tune on that? Do you think Tibbs should ease up on the minutes?
No, I don't see. Now, listen, I wish I could be in the gym and tell you Tyler Kolek doesn't look ready to play, or he looks absolutely stunning defensively now and he should be on the court more. I don't know. I do trust, and I've said this before, and I stick by it. I trust that Tom Thibodeau is really good at talent evaluation. And if a player is deserving of minutes, he typically gives them those minutes. And if a player is not deserving of those minutes, he typically leaves them on the bench. And I can say that confidently because if you look at his history, and he's been accused of burying a lot of people on the bench. I don't think there's anybody that he's buried on the bench throughout his career as a coach, whether it's Chicago or Minnesota or here in New York, where it became, well, that player became something spectacular when he left Tom Thibodeau because Tom Thibodeau was holding him back. That doesn't happen. I mean, he was getting crushed for not playing Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish didn't really turn out to be anything when he left for the LA Lakers. He was crushed for not playing Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina. And then in Chicago, it was Marquise Teague. And, there was another player in Chicago that I can't remember his name that really turned out to be nothing. So I do have a level of trust in Tom Thibodeau's talent evaluation, and I'm sticking by that.
You just named a lot of dudes I had to Google just now.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, well, who?
I wish I could remember the other Bulls player. He got killed for not playing, but he ended up being nothing. But next time we talk, I'll bring him up again.
Last question. Now that this is kind of something that's going to blow up in the Knicks world, Mikal Bridges, do you think this affects if he signs an extension or not?
Yeah, that's too early to say. But his contract will be a question in the offseason. There's still a playoffs to be played. I'm sure that there's going to be talks about this moving forward, but not quite yet. I mean, there's still a lot of basketball to be played, and Mikal's situation is such that he's eligible for an extension starting in the offseason, I believe. And if he doesn't sign it, he becomes an unrestricted free agent the following year, so in 2026, and the Knicks aren't going to let that happen, I don't think. I think if he decides he doesn't, if they offer the extension and he doesn't sign it, I think that becomes a very dicey situation, and you're going to be hearing a lot about Mikal on the trade block.
All right, Steph Bonnie, enjoy Rip City, man. We appreciate you hopping on.
All right, man. Thank you.